Today, Denver City Council unanimously voted to ban all law enforcement from wearing masks. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kim Christensen.
And I'm Kyle Clark. This ordinance is obviously directed at federal immigration agents, so it's not clear how local police would ever enforce this if President Trump's masked deportation forces come to town. 9 News reporter Spencer Soicher has been looking into this. Spencer, what have you learned on the enforcement piece?
So the bill itself says that it would count as impersonating a police officer, and the sponsors behind this bill, the city council members, want to see Denver police officers cite or arrest ICE agents that are wearing a mask while doing enforcement here in the city. But if you ask the Denver police chief, he says that's not plan A, B, or even C.
Of ayes, Council Bill 0125 has passed. Congratulations. Thank you all.
Denver City Council just passed a resolution banning law enforcement from wearing face coverings.
I got calls from people in my community that were telling me, I've seen people with masks. I don't know who they are.
It applies to all law enforcement in the city, but it's directed at masked ICE agents.
And this isn't the greatest legislation ever packed to protect immigrant rights. This is literally trying to find the bare minimum.
Once Mayor Mike Johnston signs it, the bill allows local officers to arrest or cite masked immigration agents. But will that bare minimum ever really happen? Do you envision a day where Denver police officers are going up to ICE officers to arrest them or cite them?
No.
We asked Denver Police Chief Ron Thomas 4 different ways about how and if his officers would cite or arrest masked ICE agents. If de-escalation doesn't happen, they say, hey, take off the mask. Your officers say, hey, take off the mask. Hey, you're on public property doing immigration enforcement. What happens?
Again, I think that we have that discretion, and so we're certainly, again, not going to escalate a situation trying to enforce any ordinance.
Is law enforcement, he gets to decide in real time how he implements that.
City Councilwomen Chantel Lewis and Flor Alvidrez drafted the ban, and while they say Thomas is in charge of enforcement, they expect DPD to be ticketing and arresting those violating the ban.
I believe they have an obligation to.
Thomas believes DPD has the authority to do that, but there's a difference between can and will.
And we haven't seen what we saw in Minneapolis here in Denver. If it came to that, I would hope that they would step up. I think that his experience right now isn't seeing that, and so he may not be able to imagine doing that at this moment.
So I would trust that if the mayor gives him the directive to make sure that they are arresting folks who are harming folks in our community, that he would execute in just that way.
Mayor Mike Johnston told me that he plans to sign this bill. Our legal analyst says that this actually has more legal legs than the executive order that Mayor Johnston issued last week that banned ICE from being on any city property while doing civil immigration enforcement. He says this one doesn't single out ICE agents because it applies to all law enforcement officers, and it doesn't stop ICE from carrying out federal law. We'll see, though, if those de-escalation tactics are the enforcement here. Live in Denver, Spencer Soicher, 9 News.
More near record temperatures kicked off our week. We saw more sunshine and 70s ahead of mountain snow and metro area showers. Showers in March. Kathy, we're used to snow showers in March.
I know. It's great. And Kim, there are 2 storms that we're tracking this week. The one that's coming in tonight and another one for Friday. Tonight, we're also focusing on that moon. It's going to turn full at 4:33 in the morning with a full lunar eclipse. But we've got clouds coming in after a day with temperatures in the lower 70s, 20 degrees above average. And now snow on the radar in the northern mountains, showers, even thunderstorm. Some reports of Graupel and small hail up around Cheyenne, all part of a weather system coming into Colorado tonight. That big, deep swath of clouds ahead of it on the southwest flow is ahead of the parent low still in Salt Lake City. But watch the moisture increase. By about 5:30 in the morning, some rain showers are likely from Fort Collins and Greeley, with snow from Winter Park across Vail Pass. Rain showers moving into Denver mid-morning. We get another wave in the afternoon. Some areas like the Palmer Divide and Monument Hill could see a little bit of light snow. Now, this is not going to be a big snow event for Denver. This storm is too warm, but the mountains will see several inches. So overnight tonight, temperatures stay comfortable in the 40s, but make sure you and the kids have a light jacket and potentially dust off that umbrella tomorrow, something you haven't had to use. We're going to have much more on the Tuesday rain and then the Friday rain and snow.
The U.S. State Department is urging Americans to leave 14 countries in the Middle East as America and Israel bomb Iran and Iran retaliates. Getting out, though, as those missiles and armed drones are flying, is not easy.
9 News anchor Phil Lipoff joins us now with what's next as the Trump administration is sending mixed messages about why we attacked Iran this weekend.
Kim, Kyle, between President Trump, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, we've heard several reasons for this war, from regime change to nuclear threats. So while the justification for war might not be clear, the chaos it has caused in the Middle East is certainly very clear. 6 American service members that we know of so far have been killed in the last 72 hours. Tonight, we have learned the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, was hit by 2 suspected Iranian drones. A Saudi official tells NBC News no one was injured, but the danger to Americans in the region is growing. State Department saying there are, quote, serious safety risks to Americans who stay in countries like Egypt, Bahrain, Kuwait, Lebanon, Qatar, Iraq, and more. The alert comes after the United States and Israel exchanged strikes with Iran over the weekend, one of the initial strikes killing Iran's supreme leader and dozens of other high-ranking officials in the government. Israel is now taking the brunt of Iran's retaliation so far, but not all of it. Iran has attacked Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Oman, the UAE, Jordan, and Qatar. President Trump says the biggest wave of American attacks might be yet to come. The question is, what happens after the strikes stop? Will the regime change, or will what's left of the regime continue to crack down harder and kill more protesters in the street? Kim?
Thanks, Phil. Former President Bill Clinton is trying to distance himself from Jeffrey Epstein in newly released video of his testimony before the House Oversight Committee. Republicans on the committee released video today of his and Hillary Clinton's closed-door interviews from last week. In those, Clinton told the committee he ended his relationship with Epstein years before Epstein pleaded guilty to soliciting prostitution from an underage girl. He was also asked about a photo that showed him in a hot tub with a woman whose face was redacted.
Went out, I swam around, I sat in the hot tub for 5 minutes, or whatever it was, and I got up and went to bed.
And then I have to ask this, did you engage in any sexual activity with this person? Great. Thank you.
Video from Hillary Clinton's deposition shows the former Secretary of State go back and forth with Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert after the Republican broke committee rules by sharing pictures of Clinton from inside the deposition.
This is just typical behavior.
We will go off the record.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
So I would like to understand how that's permissible.
Before the hearing was.
It doesn't matter. We all are abiding by the same rules.
I will take that down.
The release of those photos temporarily halted the deposition. Both Clintons have denied any wrongdoing and have never been accused of any crimes related to Epstein.
Democratic Secretary of State Jenna Griswold is falsely claiming that she has argued a case before the United States Supreme Court as she seeks her party's nomination to replace term-limited Attorney General Phil Weiser as Colorado's top legal officer. 9 News legal analyst Scott Robinson, who is an actual member of the Supreme Court bar and has argued a case before the High Court, says this is not complicated or unclear. He says Griswold was just a party to a case. She has not actually argued a case before the Supreme Court.
And in 2024, I followed the Constitution and argued at the Supreme Court that Donald Trump should not be eligible for president.
Unless you actually wrote the brief and then argued the case before the court, I think it would be inaccurate and, quite frankly, a misrepresentation to express otherwise.
When we asked Griswold's campaign why she continues to make this false claim, they responded with a statement saying, in part, the word argue does not exclusively mean oral argument. Griswold faces a Democratic primary for AG against 3 candidates with extensive courtroom experience: Boulder DA Michael Dougherty, former federal prosecutor Hetal Doshi, and consumer attorney David Seligman.